Okay, I want to describe how proper semantic conversation goes. And the good news is that when you have a proper conversation about your semantics and what everybody means, you're not like stopping and having this conversation about language and waiting to get to the real discussion. You actually are talking about the things that will be a part of that real discussion. Now you are kind of waiting to get to this point where you understand each other, but in that process of understanding, you're actually forming ideas. Okay, now the key to having a proper conversation about semantics and definitions is, and a lot of debates don't go further than that. They are legitimately debates about just that, is to understand this idea of intensions and extensions. Okay. Now the extensions of a word can have multiple extensions, right? Because I can mean different things by a particular word depending on the context. Okay. And a word, so for example, spiritual experiences. What do we mean? What are those? Now, granted that a lot of people think that they're just hallucinations or whatever, and I'm pretty much one of those people if you take me literally, but I think they can be meaningful, and there's an important aspect to these experiences, but I'm a materialist. But which ones are spiritual or which ones are not, is subject to debate. And so that means the extension is subject to debate. What is in the extension? And this we could think of as there's multiple extensions, with each of them being a candidate for, that word, or also just being alternate. Sometimes we find that there are several categories that are all similar, so it makes sense to call them by the same word, but then the extensions are a little bit different. For each extension, we have a bunch of candidate intentions that are trying to define that word. So to have a proper semantic conversation, generally what we're doing is we're debating intentions, the definitions that would appear in the dictionary. To do that properly, you have to fix the extension. You have to say what phenomena in the real life that other people can experience as well, or have experienced, or if need be that you personally experienced and they're experiencing secondarily through you. You have to decide what of those experiences involve phenomena that fit in that extension. And if there's multiple extensions, you have to choose one. You have to say which you're choosing. And then you can judge whether the intention grabs those experiences or not. And you can debate which intention grabs the right experience. Now, intentional definitions are like algorithms. It's something, if you think this idea and this definition, you'll be able to recognize the thing it defines. Okay? So you could look in the world and scan the world and pick out the things that intention applies to and put them in that set. And the idea is for that process to create the same extension as the extension you were trying to make a definition for in the first place. And when you get that close to one-to-one or one-to-one, if that's possible, then you have a good definition. You have a technical definition, a high-quality definition. Now, if you notice we're judging these different intentions by if they pick out a particular extension. Well, sometimes you get a really good intentional definition, and it doesn't pick out exactly what you originally thought the extension should be. But the intention is powerful, and you realize upon consideration that the things that the intention puts in that set really should be in that set, that it makes a cleaner extension. And so this goes both ways, and I call this process extensional analysis in the case of when you're actually trying to improve a definition of a word, when you're actually letting the intention change the extension and so on. But mostly for semantic purposes, you simply need to discuss what is the set of things that the term applies to. And then you need to discuss what definition does a good job of applying to those things. And if you do this, you'll find out that we don't all prefer the same intentions. We don't all prefer the same extensions. So in this process, you will find out, there's 3 terms, and when we speak, we just need to know which one we're using. And you can try to take this to the next level and get a definition you can agree on. You know, like if you agree on the extension, you have a good chance that you can work on getting the intensions together. But when you start squabbling over what goes in the extension, you probably aren't going to get agreement, but you can still know what everybody, you know, thinks when you say a particular term. And that's the semantic part. And once you know what people mean, then even without agreeing with them, you could have the conversation you might want to have using those concepts, because the semantic conversation where we discuss the relation of the term to the definition and to the things in the world, but of course we want to use those terms, get 5 or 10 or 20 or 100 terms together and be using those. And this is the first step. You have to get a good understanding of what everybody means and potentially means, and then you can start combining the words without introducing a lot of error through miscommunication.